Welcome, everybody. Look at my guest. It's Gus with all the amazing books in the background, even the awesome one behind his head, which
right there.
That just happens to be mine. Thank you for putting it up there.
Oh, my goodness, right there. Oh, my goodness.
You're funny. You're funny, Gus. Everyone who doesn't know Gus, we've been friends for now over 8 years, and we've been using his company for, I think, 7-ish. It might be a little bit more, Gus.
In that range, right? Pre-COVID. So back in the day, ancient history in real estate terms, very long time ago.
That's very true, ancient history. And today we're going to be focused on getting listings. In an interesting world, you've got a world that's, I think, US-wise, 2 strong markets, buyers strong, sellers strong. And we're starting to see the buyer stronger dominate now. So we'll see where it goes. But using your ISA, Power ISA, to reach out and get you these hand raisers. Where do you want to start with this, Gus?
So first off, I want, for all the confused people, no, this is not an ISA coaching, an AI coaching session with Tristan. Now, those are the other sessions. This is the ISA, not the AI. But in the world of AI, I want to make this point, before we jump into the presentation. I think in a world of AI, we have so many ways to attract potential buyers and sellers, right? Whether that's through content, whether that's through better follow-up. There's so many ways, but all of these different ways to generate potential buyers, potential sellers, they still, at some point, they require that conversation, right? They require someone to pick up the phone and make that magic happen. I think AI, can change that around. I think AI changes the game. You can do such a good job at attraction now with tools like AI, and you should attend, Tristan up here, his sessions on how to figure out these tools, because there's so many of them, Tristan, and they're so complex. But this session today is about what happens when you're doing such a great job, right, with that attraction. What happens when you want to get that conversation started? And I really want to talk about listing focused ISAs today, right? I'm gonna carve out the ISA can do many things. We have ISAs, Tristan, doing buyer conversion, buyer nurturing, sending buyer appointments. We have ISAs doing agent recruitment, right? That are just calling, trying to set up appointments for team leaders, brokerage owners. But this is, I think the number one reason people want to hire an ISA, which is how can I get more sellers onto my calendar? How can I get more sellers into my database? That's why I decided to jump on this one. And I'm actually, I saw some recent webinars and content from, I was inspired on this presentation by 2 really good coaches that I know. One of them is Brandon Mulrennan, a friend of Power ISA. The other one is Nick McLean, coming out from, I think, the Cheplack coaching world, and that's where he's from. And they've both been talking about this topic really, really recently. And I was inspired, okay? I didn't steal anything. I was inspired, Tristan, to make this presentation from some really great content they put out there on how to have an ISA help you generate more of these seller conversations. So let's jump into it, man. Ready to go?
I like it, man. Well, how to get a listing focused ISA? Can I just say we have one from you? We love Jose. Jose is absolutely one of the best we've ever had. I remember I had an amazing one with you way back, and then he changed careers, so we lost him.
Yeah.
But thankful that we have Jose now. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And I always tell folks, you're going to love your ISA. It's the best ISA ever because you haven't met the next one, right? Because it's our job to make that process of finding really talented people that want to work, that want to learn, that want to be coached, making that process as seamless as possible. So I love it. Awesome. Thanks, Tristan. Let's jump into it. So you said it already, Tristan, right? I every time I talk about sellers on these webinars, and I've done a few of them at this point, I always mention the current state of the market, because whether you're focusing on it, you got to know where we are. Where are we in the market? And really, really quickly, this is the latest information from NAR, the latest available, March 2026. We have less sales than we thought. We're tracking for less sales than last year, which is not a good place to be. And we're tracking for more inventory than last year, right? So you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on prices this year, right? And we're already seeing it. If you're in Southern California, where Tristan's at, if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, you're already seeing a lot of pressure on prices because there are less transactions to be had and there's more inventory. If you're in the Midwest, if you're in the Northeast, yeah, you're in a super hot seller's market. Forget everything I just said. You guys are just seeing bidding wars. And so this is going to be very local. But in the country as a whole, we're seeing less transactions and we're seeing more inventory start to pile up. You should be aware of that, right? Because that should change and you should adapt to that strategy 100%. Let's jump into it. So, Tristan, if I were to ask you, are we at pre-COVID active listing inventory? What would your gut say to that quote? Are we at or are we below pre-COVID? This is before 2020. Are we at or are we below active inventory level?
Definitely
I don't
below. No?
below. So as the country as a whole, we're actually still below 2019, which is crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
This might be the year we catch up. This might be the year from like over the next 12 months, over the next 18 months, we might be back to pre-COVID inventory levels. Because pre-COVID, people might not remember this. We were already kind of in the seller's market, like nationally. It wasn't a buyer's market in 2019. It definitely was not, right? And it was definitely a seller's market, but we are barely scratching the surface. I know people are struggling out there. There's some areas with a lot of inventory. It's more inventory than there was a couple of years ago. It's not more inventory than there was 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Okay, I want to put things in perspective. Nationally, we are barely getting back to pre-COVID levels. Some markets are already there for sure. Like the markets that have the most, 100%. You guys are at pre-COVID, maybe even above inventory levels for pre-COVID. But for the whole country, we're slowly pacing to that, that level, right? So you should be aware of that. That's why listings are such a big strategy, and you should be looking for more listings. And if you want to have leverage when you're generating listings, that's why you should hire an ISA. All right. So, okay, great, Gus. I'm convinced listings are still a great strategy. They're a great part of my business. I love it. How do I do it? Right. Well, first off, you've got to hire an ISA that is going to be focused on listings. Okay. Which is different. Why is that different? I'll show you 3 easy steps. Right. Okay. When you're hiring a listing focused ISA, Tristan, there's one thing that's distinct from someone that's just going to be working buyer leads.
Yes.
Cold calling should be part of their DNA, right? Because that is the main way to generate listings in this market. Cold calling, prospecting, okay? A lot of times we'll hire people that have a really strong customer service background because I don't know if people know this, but in the call center world, customer service reps are bonused on sales metrics, right? Yes. Upsells, retention, like that. I mean, it's customer service, but all the money's made by sales metrics, right? So customer service can be a good background. If you want to have a listing focused ISA, that's not a great background. Okay, you want someone that's coming from a prospecting background, not just sales. Prospecting, it's different than just regular sales. Okay, that's the kind of background you want because that's mostly what they're going to do, right? And you should be interviewing. And you should be looking for those excellent phone skills because they're going to come out when you're talking to someone. And this is something I tell all of our, all of Clients Power ISA, anyone thinking of hiring an ISA, you can interview for those great phone skills, but the next 7 days, 14 days is when you're really going to see what they bring to the job, right? Someone can interview great. They can have a great interview, Tristan. But try and faking it for the next week on the phone, and it's just not going to happen. They're not going to be able to. Okay, that's why the final part of the interview is those first 30 days on the job, right? Like that's it. This job is hard enough where I respect it. It's humbled me many times. You got to get someone on the phone to actually figure out if they're going to be any good, especially when talking to sellers. Okay, such a big part of it. Qualified candidates. You got to be interviewing enough people. Here are my top sources to find great ISA talent: Facebook groups, Facebook ads, TikTok. Okay, so I'm being serious here, right? If you're looking at TikTok videos where people are talking about careers in real estate, where people are looking for opportunities, this is where we're getting tons of candidates. Okay, I have people looking through TikTok videos talking about virtual work from home opportunities, real estate opportunities, how to make, this is where you find some really, really good candidates, right? People that are like, we're in the comments. We slide into those DMs off of TikTok. I would never have said that, a couple of years ago. I thought I would have been nuts, but this is a great way to find candidates in 2026. And so people on this call have an advantage over me, Tristan. I need to hire about 15 to 20 people a week. Okay. You have to hire one person. Just one. You don't need 15 a week, 20 a week. You don't need it. You just need one really good one, right? So maybe Facebook groups is all you need to find one really good candidate. And it just simplifies things a lot. And Tristan, for you guys, when you're looking for virtual talent, you look online, you just get referrals from your team. How do you guys find really good talented VAs or ISAs? Well, ISAs from us, but how about virtual assistants? Is it the same kind of sources, or is it just people coming in? You have such a large team now, maybe just referral and recommendation is good enough for you guys.
Yeah, I think referral and recommendations number one place, dude. Hands down. Because they know exactly how we work already. And they're like, hey, you know what? This person you won't fire 30 days later because I know the environment. I know what you want, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we love getting referrals from my team. It's just that we don't get enough of them. We got to go out there and find new people, 100%. But that's a great one as well, right? People already know the way you work. So, this is talking to enough, qualified candidates. The biggest mistake you're going to make when hiring, Tristan, is you don't talk to enough qualified people, okay? Like that's just mistake number one. Gus, I talked to 2 people and I hired the best one. Well, yeah, because you only talked to 2 people, right? That's the problem. That's the problem, right? So, and when we work with people with Power ISA, we present to them 2 or 3 really good candidates, but we talk to 20 or 30 people to get them there, right? Like they're talking to only the 2 or 3 best, but to get there's a whole process behind that. 20 to 30 interviews, which means 100, maybe up to 200 applications that came in that just didn't qualify, didn't meet the bar, right? So also another thing, you might be making this is a big mistake people make when hiring an ISA, Tristan. Big mistake. They make the process way too complex, okay? What do I mean by that? They want to have multiple rounds of interviews, personality assessments. They want to investigate all their references. They want to do a bunch of role play sessions on the interview. And here's the truth, okay? The unfiltered truth. I'm not saying those things can't be useful. Maybe. In my experience, which is hiring over 1,000 people, like actually not even 1,000, probably thousands at this point. But me personally, I was involved in 1,000 hiring loops when I did this job 100%. Is that these aren't great indicators of success, not for ISA. They might be for other roles, right? Because I've gotten into debates with people, the personality assessments, this, that. I totally understand that. But nothing beats interviewing someone for their language skills, for their coachability, and then just putting them on the phone. That is the ultimate predictor of success. Everything else is noise, in my experience, okay? So do not have a 3-round interview process. Do not fill out all these personality assessments, all these references. Guys, for ISA, that doesn't work nearly as well, okay? It's a lot of wasted time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Interview for that core skill set, get them on the phone, like the next day, okay? Because Tristan, this is what happens. You spend like a month trying to hire one person because of all this process. You get them in, and they don't perform. But there's something called the sunken cost fallacy. You fall right into it. Like, no. I went through this whole process. I did I'm not going to name names, but, we know the hiring, I'm a former KW agent. The hiring process. I went through the whole process. This has got to work, right? I got to give this person more time because the process can't be wrong, right? And you keep them on for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months. Tristan, I have seen people on their own hire an ISA and they're on the job for 6 months producing nothing, right? No results. Because they didn't have the heart to fire them and say they made a mistake, right? Because they invested too much time into them. And they said, no, I got to get something out of this. No. If you got a bad candidate, they shouldn't last a week on your team. Yeah, Tristan.
That's true. Well, in the meantime, just only because it just happened right now, buddy. You know how we have an ISA that we're using from you? They just texted me on WhatsApp because that's where we communicate. And I have him also recruiting for Y Realty, so you know.
Oh, perfect.
And so they just texted me. Jose goes, "Hey, appointment booked. Maria is her name, phone number. She's interested. Notes on Maria, right? Interested in learning about why realty. Here's the information that I provided, blah, 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 blah. And here's the recording audio for it. And I'm like, oh, and I love the recording audio because I can hear what we can improve on.
100%. 100%. I love that. That's just music to my ears, right? Like, you're on a webinar, Tristan,
It just
and
happened,
boom,
dude.
you got people to talk to right after this, right?
That's so true.
Because the highest value activity you can do is talk to a motivated agent, right? Motivated agent. Like that's like the, if they can get you in front of someone that's interested in wire realty, I mean, your close rate is probably, off the charts, right? As an agent, your highest value activity as a real estate agent, the equivalent is talking to a motivated seller, right? It's like that's the hard part for agents is the prospecting. That's the hard part. And that's where an ISA can add a ton of value. Okay, let's jump into it. Keep on. Onboarding. That's the next one that's really tough. Okay, like the first 30 days, Tristan, that's the game. That is the game. Okay, because bad hires shouldn't last more than a week. Don't think that you have to hire someone for a full 30 days to find out if they work or don't. That's a big mistake, right? Don't do it that way. If people are not showing up on time, they're showing up low energy, they're completely different than they were on the interview, right? They're not doing their homework. You leave them every day. That person shouldn't be on your team, right? Like right off the bat. And you got to be aware of that. And my number one recommendation when you hire someone is get them on the phone ASAP. It should be as soon as they come in, they should be making calls the next day. Maybe if you got a complex tech stack, maybe a couple of days later, maybe. Like if it takes a while to get them set up on your systems, extreme case, maybe a couple of days later, preferably next day, because that's when the real learning is going to start. That's when you're going to see the actual results. That should happen all within the first week. All of those things, right? 100%. Okay. And the mistake. So here's the mistakes agents make, right? They hire someone. It doesn't matter if it's virtual or in-house. They hire someone, they give them the script. Here's some videos to train yourself, right? And then, they come back a week or two later and they're kind of surprised they're not getting the result that they want. Or even worst case, Tristan, they come back a month or two later, actually paying attention to the numbers and go, why haven't I gotten anything from this? I had already solved this problem. I already hired an ISA. Why aren't we getting what I expect? Yeah, you set them up the wrong way. You set them up for failure, right?
Yep.
That is a leadership issue like that. I mean, you might have the bad candidate, granted. You might get the wrong person. But how do you know, right?
Here, I'll tell you how. Only because you and I have done it for so long, and I hate people failing on this part because they have the wrong expectations. It's going to require a lot of work on your part to go through the recorded calls and listen to them, go back to them daily, multiple times a day for a few weeks, months, and say, hey, that word you used, let's use this word. Hey, that opening line, how's that working? Because I'm not sure. You saw what happened and they just left 20 seconds in. Hey, that closing that you did, that was amazing. Let's duplicate that. Hey, the tone, that tone you use, right? That's good. Keep on doing it. Like the littlest things. And by the end, you'll have a Jose like I do. Like Jose's tone is on point. He can sell anything. He's just to the right person. Obviously, if they're not selling, that's not on us.
He won't badger you in just a mission. He's finding real people.
So sweet, man. It's like now we have the perfect sweet spot, but it took time to get there.
Yeah, 100%. And it's got to be someone that you've got to be very confident in having them represent your company. They are the first point of contact for a lot of these sellers into your team and your business. The first point of contact. You've got to be abundantly confident in their ability to represent you, right? And it's got to be as serious as that. They're representing the brand. They're representing you as an agent. That's why it's so important, okay? Last one on hiring. Promise, last one on hiring. We're going to get into the meat part, right? We're going to get into the lead sources in a second. But accountability, Tristan, like this is, so for a lot of folks, maybe they have an admin when they hire an ISA, but a lot of times it's the first salesperson they ever manage, okay? It's an ISA for a lot of agents. It's the first salesperson they ever manage, all right? And the biggest mistake is not having a clear goal with a timeline, okay? A clear goal with a timeline attached to it. I'm going to give you a couple examples. if they're calling expired listings, okay, let's give an easy one. Old expired listings. That is a highly motivated lead, okay, highly motivated lead trying to sell. They should be generating 1, 2, 3 qualified attended appointments every week for you, right? Like and if they're not getting that, they should at least be giving you qualified leads you've met on the phone. Okay, 1, 2, 3 qualified leads you've spoken to and that are still selling, and you have an opportunity to set an appointment with them. Okay, that is a realistic expectation. If they're calling Circle, okay, you're not going to set a bunch of appointments off Circle Prospect, okay, but they should be generating 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10 qualified leads that are going to be selling in the future if they're doing Circle, right?
Yeah, I'm going to add something to this one because you're the one that told me this, and then we implemented it, right? Dude, as long as I've been running ISAs, which is 2009, okay?
Wow.
I still am learning, okay? Because you told me something last year in a webinar like this, and you said, Tristan, here's how I would suggest you compensate on the bonus for your ISAs. And dude, I took that and I saw the difference really fast, like all across the board. So this is how I do it. So I don't remember if I modified it or if it's the exact same thing. You tell me. Okay.
Go for it.
So I chose for every, and this depends on what type of appointment. Okay.
Yeah.
So I made it super easy. Off of my database, the 150,000 people in our database inside of Follow Up Boss, right? As you're calling daily, your job is to set, every time you set 4 appointments, because they're a little bit easier, right? 4 appointments, you're going to get a $25 bonus, right?
Love it.
And so we have one ISA who does like almost 12 every week, right?
Wow.
And that's nuts, man. But 25, really I don't mind paying $75 a week, right? For 12 appointments. And that was from you. So thank you for that.
I love it. Yeah. And that's such a key thing because this is, and I get into debates with people about this. I don't like per appointment bonuses, right? Or per nurture, call them nurture bonuses, right? I don't like it because if they do a really good job Monday morning, they're going to get a bonus at the end of the week if they did nothing else the rest of the week and they produced nothing else, right? That's not a good job for me. I don't think that's a kind of performance culture I want to promote. If you met the minimum goal, which isn't 1, in your case, it's 4. It's great. If they got you 4 solid attended appointments that week, yeah, they get $25, right? If they get a dozen of, again, that's great. And you can do multiples of that. That's awesome. But it should be a goal. They get bonus not per appointment. They get bonus on goals. And that applies, Tristan, whether it's inbound buyer, outbound seller, like all those different things, whether it's agent recruitment, whatever the metric is. I always tell folks, give it a week's time frame, get a good round number on what a good performance for the week is. And if they get that, they get a bonus. If they get multiples of that, they should get more. I think it's fine. And they should get more. And it takes a while to calibrate this, right? For when we start a campaign that's fresh, and we don't have a good idea what that number should be, we said, hey, bonuses start next month. This month, we're going to calibrate and dial in what the goal should be. And we're training and we're figuring this out. And then by the second month, you have a pretty good idea on what that bonus structure should be. Because bonus structure is good. I think it was Charlie Munger that said this. Like, if you want me to tell you what the outcome is going to be, tell me what the incentives are. Dude, I'll tell you what kind of outcome you're going to get.
When
right?
you told me that,
tell me the
Charlie is like one of my heroes. When you told me that, I was like, oh, damn, I suck. I need to do this right now. So that's what got me to do it.
I love it. It's a great one. Yeah. Doing it. And it starts with accountability, which means you have to have a goal in the first place. That people don't mess up usually with that part of it, Tristan. They mess up further behind. They don't even have a goal that they should be hitting on a weekly basis. And hey, it's been 3 weeks where you haven't made the goal, Mr. ISA. What's going on? Let's have a conversation about that. That's the part that's not happening, right? That part is really it. And that's what I mean by accountability. You've got to have an accountability system in place. Last but not, like we just said, mistakes you can make in this part. We already mentioned a bunch of them. You don't have clear goals and expectations. You might have unrealistic expectations. That's the other end of the spectrum, right? You might be going too low. You might be going too high. You got to make sure you're doing the right one, right? So avoid those mistakes to get a really great listing focused ISA, listing focused ISA, right? And there's another way to do this, and use higher power ISA. That's another option, right? Another option out there. I'm just throwing it out there if you want.
On that, this is what I would recommend. When you hire an ISA from Power ISA, don't start changing it up and being like, listen, Gus, let's say I'm hiring you, Gus, right? Gus, you're going to call for sub owners, expireds, my database. You're going to call my past clients. You can call everybody. Okay. I think that's probably the biggest mistake you're going to make. You need to really drill down and say, hey, listen, Gus, this is the only type of person you're going to be calling. In fact, you're going to be calling this big giant farm area that I have. You're going to be looking for downsizers. You're going to be using prop stream. Here's how you use it, right? Every day, the whole county, LA, you're going to start here, and this is all you're going to do. And that helps because they're going to become really amazing at talking to that one type of client. And then maybe you can add another one like we did. But listen, have them focused in so they can become amazing and have better results for you.
Yeah, I mean, the more, I mean, you nailed it, right? The more you can make that, you know, a single avatar you're looking for, a single lead source. I tell people this, Tristan, at least start them on just one. Don't give them 5 to start with. They're not going to get the reps in. They're not going to get the reps in. They're not going to get enough practice on it. You're not going to be able to listen to all of them and give them like 5 different points of feedback. It's a mess. Start them on one. Start them on one. Get traction with that. Listen to those calls. Give them simple bite-sized chunks of that feedback every day. And that's how you train a really good person, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to confuse people. And the most important thing, you're just not going to get enough reps. They're not going to talk to enough people on each given lead source to make any traction. And I've seen that a lot of times. Start them on one. Start them on one and then build up from there. I love that. Great suggestion. Now, here's what a lot of people came here for. Gus, okay, I'm bought in. I have a great ISA. They're focused on listings. I hired them to be focused on listings. What should they be calling for me? And this is coming directly from, you know, results we're seeing right now in 2026. And here's some new ones. There's some new ones I hadn't talked about, Tristan, and I got a great reminder of this by these coaches I mentioned at the very beginning. Shout out to Coach Brandon Mulrennan, Coach Nick McLean, because they helped remind me that some of these can be really, really powerful, but a lot of agents are not focusing on them. Here's a big one. There might be a lot of potential sellers in your CRM. A lot of agents, Tristan, make the mistake that assuming all inbound leads are only thinking about buying. And yeah, there's going to be a percentage with a home to sell, maybe, right? I'm guessing it's going to be a percentage. I'll try and double in that deal. And the recommendation should be, you should fix your data, right? Because any potential buyer that has mentioned in passing or mentioned on your onboarding form, every single lead form known to man, Tristan, should have an owner rent field in there. Don't ask them for the address. It's too soon for that. But do the owner rent. Owner rent. Every lead form should have a field like that, whether it's Facebook or your inbound lead form, whatever it is, right? You should track that information. And if it isn't on there, anytime you have a conversation, you should train your team to look out for keywords that they're a homeowner and tag those buyer leads as owners, okay? Tag them as an owner, because some of the top teams in the country, they do this at scale, and then they have their ISAs call their old leads, their pond leads, but they hit the ones that are owners first, okay? They hit the ones that are owners first, and they have some, you know, they have some optionality. They can hit them with a buyer-focused lead magnet, like, hey, I saw this great property came on the market. You might be interested in it, right? There's a great deal out there. Should I send you the information or not? That's a buyer-focused hook. That's a buyer-focused lead magnet. Or they can have a seller-focused lead magnet, a seller-focused hook. We just sold this listing in your neighborhood, in your area, and we had like 5 buyers left over, right? Who do you know that might be thinking of selling? Because I'm trying to help out. 5 buyers didn't get that property, okay? And that'll get your attention if you have a home that you're thinking of selling, all right? So you can give you options. Otherwise, Tristan, the same automations go to everybody, okay? The same hooks go out to someone that's renting, versus someone that's owning. And I think
like
that's a big mistake, right? Your
dude,
ISAs, when they call the old leads, they should be able to filter out the homeowners in those buyer-focused leads. And this goes into a big belief I always had. Any seller is a buyer first and foremost. Every single seller, like no one wakes up wanting to sell their home. I think I should sell my home today. No, man. They wake up wanting the next property. They want the, beachfront property in Malibu, right? And that's what they're thinking of. That's what they're dreaming of. Selling the home is part of the process. It's a part they wish they could avoid, right? Actually selling their home. But the new property is what they want, right? You should be able to tell the difference between someone that's renting and buying maybe for the first time versus someone that has a home to sell potentially, right? And be able to at least ask the question and hit them with a buyer focus hook or hit them with a seller focus hook and lead and corresponding lead mandate. Have your ISA give them a call. On the technology for this, you can use your CRM dialer. You don't need anything else. Like that's it. This is a very easy call to make. Or if you insist on using an external dialer, it can be open phone. I think they call it Quo now, Quo dialer. That's a great one, but you probably don't need it. Just call within Follow-Up Boss or Lofty or, what is it? Sync, if they're still out there, Sync users, and Boomtown, if you guys still exist, use those. You don't need anything else, Tristan. The sellers you want are probably already in your CRM.
They are.
100%. Next one. Oh, here's a good example. This team is out of Phoenix, Arizona. 54 people on their radar within the first 30 days that were already in their database, buyers and sellers. Okay.
What have you noticed on this? What have you noticed helps you enrich that data so you can find those sellers? Anything?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a great Tristan question. So absolutely. And I'm going to, I have no, relationship with this company, but I have seen tools like Fellow, tools like Home Scout. Those are the best, right? Because they do a really good job at dropping those breadcrumbs that potential sellers are going to want to know about. Those tools are great. When those tools are available, that is it. And again, these tools don't do the job on their own. They just give you a little bit more indication of who might be interested in their home value, who might be interested in selling, right? And they do a phenomenal job at that. And, the number one Fellow feature that I love the most, Tristan, is that end of month report where they tell you who in your database transacted, right? Whether they used you or not. And you might not, this is the best thing. You might not even have known they had a home to sell. You didn't even have the data, right? They just sold the property and they were in your database already. I love that feature. Like, kind of in a masochistic way. Like I love that feature because you know exactly the value that's in your database that you might not be getting. Right? So those tools do an awesome job, an amazing job. I wish more teams had them. Fellows gets all the press. There's more tools out there. But Fellows just has to be the most prominent one that I think is working really, really well. But you should have a tool like that that's giving them high quality, like really, really good marketing pieces around different ideas to sell their home value, home property, and recent sold properties in your area. I love it. Awesome. Good. Like tried and true. Like, I was going to say this. I was going to say this. Expired listings. I mean, just do it. I talk about this all the time. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this one. I have a really good script. I'm not even going to go into the scripting because we don't have any time. But here's a great link from Coach Brandon Mulrenan on an amazing expired listing script you should be using in 2026. Check it out. I'll give you instructions on how to get the whole slide deck after this presentation. When we're done, I'll give you instructions on that. Check it out. You should do it. Your ISA should do it. And specifically old expireds, right? In the markets, we mentioned in the beginning, there's some markets with high inventory, okay? There's a markets where a lot of listings aren't getting sold, Tristan. I'm talking about South Florida, South Texas. We know that you guys are struggling with inventory down there. There's a lot of inventory. A lot of expireds are coming off the market, okay? We have a lot of clients in Austin, Texas, like the expired listing capital of the world right now, Austin, Texas. A COVID boom town, COVID bust town, right? A lot of expireds. You should be calling them. And here's the trick when you have a lot of expireds in the market, Tristan. You can pick and choose the ones you want, okay? You don't have to call everybody. And your ISA can call everybody, but you get to choose who you work with. Because in a market that you're seeing declining prices and higher inventory, you've got to qualify the property. Can it be sold in this market? And you've got to qualify the seller. Are they motivated to sell in this market, in these conditions. Okay. That's why it's so important to reach out to everyone so you can pick and choose the actually motivated sellers to have a conversation with. And that's what we're helping agents do. And here's a great one, right? 4 listings in 60 days with my ISA. This is Ben Main's. 5 listings in 6 weeks. Kia is in Austin, by the way, right? That's why I got these case studies. This is Johnny Wells, 6 listings in 5 days, another Austin agent, right? Like, I'm not making this up. This is working in high inventory markets. Even in high inventory markets, you should be generating listings, but you should be generating the listings that are actually going to sell, okay? Like, if we're having this conversation in New Jersey, do I have, let's see, okay, I don't have him in there, but we have agents in New Jersey as well. Anthony Lomello, I don't have him in this presentation, but he's another agent in New Jersey. It's a lot harder to get expired listings in New Jersey. We're still doing it, but you got to take whatever you can get. You got to take whatever you can get because the market is so hot. It's a very hot market in that area.
It is.
And if you have high inventory, you have the ability to select the sellers you actually think are going to sell and that are motivated to get sold in this market, okay? Next one, last but not least, I was going to say it, circle prospect, right? This is the last, I got one more after this, but this is the circle prospecting one. This is like calling the phone book. I have a lot of really great, I have a whole session where it says the best scripts on that link. I have a whole webinar like this talking about circle prospect and the best scripts for that. So instead of trying to redo that, I'm going to recommend you check out that presentation. It's a great one. It's an LCA webinar. You should check it out because this absolutely works. And I would not, in 2026, I would not do circle prospect without an ISA. You got to have volume. You've got to have enough dials. You got to have enough conversations. And I would have to have someone calling all day to get enough conversations to make this work. In 2026, here's a bunch of case studies. This is out of Hawaii. This is Southern California, Orange County. This is Tucker's in Texas as well, another Texas agent. Another Texas agent, this is Carlos Gonzalez. Like, circle prospect can work, right? Like, if someone can get this to work in like freaking Orange County, you can probably get it to work in a lot of places, okay? Because Orange County can be a tough place to call. LA County, tough place to call, right? So, but you can find a way to make this work if you can have enough conversations on a daily basis. Last but not least, Tristan, this is the hardest one for people to let go sometimes, right? Like, your personal database and past clients.
Yep.
This should be the number one source of listings for any real estate agent, okay? Any real estate agent should be getting their number one source of listings should be their past clients and their personal database. If you're not calling this on your own, either because you're too busy or there might be too many people on this list to call in an efficient amount of time, okay? Lucky you. That's great. Actually, this is another case study. This is Rodolfo and Shannon out of Seattle. He had so I'm not joking, he had a personal database, people he knew, okay, of 10,000 people, okay? I'm not making that number up. He had a personal database, people that he had met in person. He's been an agent for a while in Seattle. 10,000 people in that list. And he, a big community organizer. He led a lot of civic organizations. He's a big name in Seattle. So he had a lot of people. So do you know how long it would take him to call 10,000 people? A really long time. Like, it was just not feasible. It was just never going to happen, right? So he hired an ISA strictly to help him call his personal Met database, which was thousands of people, okay? Thousands of people. If it were 1,000 people, you probably need some help calling that database because you're not going to get to everybody, right? You're only taking the low-hanging fruit. And that can be great sometimes, and that might not be enough other times, right? So you got to go out there and reach out to folks, and this can be a great way to use an ISA, right? So we're coming up on time here, folks. I want to get this out there. If you want a free copy of this whole presentation, send an email, info@PowerISA. In the subject line, you have to include listing ISA. Because if you make a mistake, we'll probably send it to you 2 days later. But, if you want to get it right now, like, you send an email to info@powerisa.com. In the subject line, include listing ISA, and you'll get a copy of this. And I'll also throw in all the scripts we just mentioned, right? ISA-focused scripts for you or your ISA to use, whether it's going to be rekindling these old leads in your database, whether it's going to be Circle or Expired or FISBO, like whatever it is, we'll throw them in there. You guys send an email. So I think we got through it, Tristan. Did I miss any questions? Any questions from the audience people want us to answer?
No, I got them, buddy. I got them both on
Cool.
Facebook and in
Love it.
here. I think the one question I have is, would you start with full-time or part-time? That's probably the question we get often.
That is a great question. So I would say you can start part-time on almost any lead source. The one I just wouldn't recommend, Tristan, is Circle Prospect, because it just takes so much time. And just so you know it, I just recorded a case study. This is like 10 days ago, right? With one of our clients. He's in Omaha. He's in Omaha. He used to be in Texas, moved out to their neighboring state. And he has a part-time ISA, absolutely crushing it on part-time. But he's an exception, though. I want to be really clear, because he's able to get, I think, 3 or 4 qualified sellers a day on part-time. That's very hard to do, right? He just happens to be in a market where people pick up the phone a ton. If he were in Southern California, he would be lucky to get 3 or 4 a week. Okay. He gets 3 or 4 in a part-time shift. So that's the reason. That's the reason you got to be careful with part-time or full-time. The place where it's really going to matter is the kind of calls that take a long time. The kind of calling that takes more contacts, more phone calls. Public Circle Prospect is not a good idea. But if you're calling inbound leads, if you're calling expired listings, you can make some traction in part-time for sure. You can start part-time, and if you start getting some traction, you can expand to full-time after that.
Okay, I like that, man. Good response to that one. What I'm going to do, I'm going to test something out, Gus. I'm going to grab the transcript from this, and I made a project in Claude, right, with skills, and I'm going to see if I can create more content from this, because you do a really good job promoting this stuff. Like, you put your picture on there, right? I love that.
I'm tagging you on those. I tag you to get some of that social juice, some of that social media mojo.
I'm going to try something after this, written and maybe graphics, and outside of the videos that we do. But anyway,
So Tristan, I'm glad you're doing that, because you know what? That's what I do. I do that. Like, I grab my own videos. People, that should be the next webinar, maybe. Like, I love talk. I can talk out of my elbows. The thing that's harder for me is like sitting down and writing like a really long, like really good social media post. I will use Claude to give me like a good outline or a good starting point that I can just tweak and kind of make some adjustments to. But it does such a great job at that, right? But it's all in the. So I don't know if you agree with this or not. You got to give it the right date on that project. You got to give it the right examples. And guess what? One thing I used to do a lot, there was a certain format of post that was killing it for me last year, right? It was the very, one sentence, and then, it was a very spread out kind of post. And then suddenly that post started not doing so well for me anymore, right? People were going to tell, I got tired of the format. So I told Claude, now ignore all that stuff I used to give you. And now this is literally what I told him. I need you to do like a more compact, a little bit thicker paragraphs on it. And it got it at the first try, which I thought was it didn't used to work that way. You got to give it a few tries. I had to do retry it a few times, give it a prompted, and give it some corrections. It nailed it. I think it was still Claude. It was Opus 4.6. I wasn't like the latest one. It was a previous latest one. Claude nailed it, Tristan, and gave me a really great, much better formatted post that is now doing a lot better for me. So not only is that a good idea, that is exactly what I do. I use this content. I love talking. So I take my superpower, which is like being on video, and I leverage that into social media posts and newsletters and everything else, right? Because I'm a little bit lazier. I'm a lazy writer. I'm a great speaker. I'm a lazy writer. I use Claude to fill in that gap.
You should take the transcript from these too, and then just throw it into a project. And if you have a skill already set, dude, create amazing content from this one.
I love it. I'll do it. I will do it. I usually do it for my own videos, but I'll do the LCA ones as well. Tristan said, guys. Tristan said. So we'll do it. 100%.
All right, everybody, scan the QR code. Take a look at this 50% off your ISA with Gus. He's been amazing to us for almost 8 years now. And the thing I love about Gus is he's one of the nicest guys out there. So he'll always take care of you. If there's a problem, he'll take care of it. And he trains extremely well. We get great VAs. And every once in a while, we've gotten one that we didn't like. So we just swapped them out and got a better one. So please take a look at this. Work on your database a lot. those listings, because that's a big missed piece.
It's a big blind spot. It's a big blind spot. And if you've never done it before, if you're going to take anything away from this presentation, start using that owner tag. Like that alone, start using it today. If you have no one in your database tagged that way, that's fine. Start doing it today, and you'll start to have much better data in 30 days, 60 days. You'll know who's an owner in your database, and that can be a game changer.
That's true. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day. Gus, thank you so much.